Well, hey there. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here, but you can call me Pajama Grandma. In case we haven't met yet, go ahead and put hashtag pajama in the comments below so I know it's the first time you are being exposed to the Pajama Grandma. Today is day 10 of our 30-day Supersize Your Business Challenge. Day 10, we're a third of the way through already. Can you see how this is shaping up? Can you see how this process makes it simple for you to supersize your business? If you haven't been able to figure it out or see how the structure works yet and the process works, I guarantee by day 30, you'll have had the entire framework of how to supersize your business. So stick with it. It's actually pretty simple, just one little thing a day, right? So today, I want to talk about the power of stories. Stories, I've always known that I learn through stories and that we share and people understand us and can relate to us through stories, but I never, until about the last couple of years, really realized how amazing and how powerful stories are and how important they are to communicating what it is that we're trying to communicate to people. I've always told my kids stories when I wanted to teach them something or share a lesson, but I never realized that I was doing that. I just kind of was doing it automatically, probably because I learned to do it from my parents and they learned how to do it from their parents, because stories have been around as long as human beings have. We've always used stories to convey our messages. Think of the Bible. It's full of stories. Think of any book. The best books that we read are those that have stories and examples that we can relate to. Stories help us to connect with other people. And so that's why I want to talk about stories today. If I'm talking about stories, help us do everything. They help us to sell. They help us to communicate. They help us to build relationships. They help us to build bridges of understanding, because people do business with us when they understand what it is that we do and what we can do for them, why we do it, why it's important for them. And the best way to convey that message is through a story. Say, for example, I want to sell you something. Say a flashlight. Say a magnifying glass. I am the queen of magnifying glasses. Now, if I just throw this up, and with physical things it's easier, if I just throw this up and put a little couple of paragraphs about it, you'll probably pay me maybe $10 for this particular magnifying glass, right? But if I were to tell you the story of this magnifying glass and how it saved a shipload of people that were stranded at sea during a storm, and this particular magnifying glass was responsible for saving them all, and I paint the picture of that story and I tell you all about that story and I tell you all the details and the drama and everything about that experience. Now this particular magnifying glass might be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars depending on your perspective and your connection with that story. The same is true of anything that we do or anything that we say. If we want to, I learned this in corporate America actually. Sorry about that. If I wanted to get a group of people, say my team, behind a directive or something that we were doing for the business, I couldn't just go in and say, well, I could, but it didn't work very well. Some leaders would go in and just say, hey, this is what management says we're doing this, go do it. Now, you would get some results with that, but if I would go in and I would explain what direction we were taking, why we were taking it, and the why is the most important, and how we came to that conclusion and why it was important and what each person's role was in making sure that that would happen and getting their buy-in, and told the stories around and the reasoning around things. And I would usually pull in stories and examples from my past and why each person's role was important in making sure that this goal would be achieved. We were much more likely to get the goal achieved, number one, and much better results than if somebody just came in or if I just came in and directed people to do something. So stories are really, really powerful. They create context and they create value. It's, again, the magnifying glass, not a great example, but think of it. Examples and the stories around the things that you want to share with people and why you want to share them. We'll talk more about stories and how they create connection, but I'm going to encourage you today I've started doing it, and obviously I'm not great at it because I couldn't think of stories for today. I've got lots of stories, but they're not really appropriate for certain situations and for what I'm trying to convey about stories. But I encourage you, today's action step is to start to build a stories inventory. Grab a little notebook or a big notebook. I've got a big notebook. And start just writing down experiences, like brainstorm lists of experiences that you have, and then a couple of sentences that convey the story or the emotion or the lesson learned from that particular experience. The one that comes to mind the most for me, because it's of course the most dramatic in my life, was my sudden cardiac arrest and actually waking up in the hospital and the first words out of my mouth being WTF. That actual moment of that being the first words out of my mouth changed the direction and the trajectory of my life, because I realized that WTF is not the best question to be directing your life. And I tell the story often about that because it did have such a huge impact on me. So create an inventory of stories like that, or of experiences that you've had. Maybe it was your first job, your first kiss, your first date, your divorce, driving a car, riding a bike, your first promotion, getting a job, getting accepted to college, failing at your first business, whatever it is. Brainstorm that list of experiences and then start thinking about the stories and the lessons learned there, because I guarantee you're going to have opportunities to use those as you are supersizing your business. That's it for today. Go out, have a fantastic day. I'm going to sip my coffee, nurse my cold, and be feeling fantastic tomorrow, because I'm done being sick. I'm done having a cold. I feel awesome. It's my favorite thing, is to say, I feel awesome. I yell that and wake the kids up, so I have to kind of tone it down. It's still early. So, stories inventory. And then start noticing the way people are using stories all around you. That's it. Fantastic day. Pajama Grandma out.